Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cybersecurity Amplified and Intensified, the #1 cybersecurity podcast with your host, Eric Taylor, and myself, Shiva Maharaj. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. Let's load up Red Dawn on the VHS player or Betamax. And no, the Russians are not coming. That was just our clickbait.
Yep, clickbait, very much. But in a way, they are coming, I would imagine. So the InfoSec community, at least I am, and I know a couple other folks are, sounding the bell, with everything that's going on globally. So I guess let's lay the scene. All right. Everything being true or whatever, you got the whole situation with Russia and Ukraine, right? Now you've got Biden, who put the first round of sanctions in, supposedly supposed to put a second round of sanctions in today.
One thing there. Remember, Russia's been under some form of sanctions since 2014 when they annexed Crimea. And yesterday's sanctions were directly aimed, as far as I could tell, at the Donbass and Luhansk people's republics that were, I guess, declared yesterday or acknowledged by the Kremlin.
But see, they're independent people. They're like, whatever, shut up, Russia. So I don't know that whole freaking whatever. But now Biden is supposed to put out another round of sanctions today, and why he just didn't do it with the first round, I don't know. I mean, when he got into office,
I don't think he had real cause to do it, quite honestly. Ukraine is not a member of NATO, and they probably won't be. Otherwise, they would have been brought in by now, with 130, 150 odd thousand troops on the borders. What I find really interesting about all this is one of the proposed sanctions, and I don't have anything to back this up, just other than pure speculation, is if the U.S. gets the SWIFT banking system to drop the Russian Federation. Now, the Russian Federation has something in place to mitigate that, which they've been building steadily since 2014's annexation, is that a word? Of Crimea.
Annexation, yeah.
And you have about 20, 25 odd Western countries that are already signed up on that system. And then you have China. And that new pipeline that was just announced between Russia and China, that's not connected to their existing pipeline infrastructure, which means it's all going to Asia.
Mm-hmm.
But where I have a concern, and you really stoked this in me, Eric, is that if SWIFT drops the Russian Federation, I can only imagine that the American and European banking systems and its members, which are private, will get an onslaught of ransomware attacks or hacking attacks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're going to go after whoever is stopping their funds, right? I mean, it's only natural. So we've said it before, Russia is not opposed, and this isn't the first time that they can suffer hardship. It's like they're in their DNA.
It's their culture, man.
Exactly.
And I don't mean that in a good way or a bad way. It's an it is what it is thing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And we were talking about this in depth this morning. Eric brought it to my attention, the Credit Suisse Panama paper style leak. And part of me wants to think that is a precursor to warn financial institutions not to partake in sanctions.
Yeah, I do think it's a warning shot, if you will. Like, they're going to flat out say, or there's like, look, like you said a moment ago, don't mess with us. We are triggered and we don't care. I mean, let's remember who Putin is. Former KGB, maybe still KGB. I don't know if KGB is really truly disemboweled.
I hear being in the KGB is like being in the Marines. The only time you get out is when you're dead.
Pretty much.
So,
it's people have got to understand, take gas prices going up. I mean, it's going to it's going to affect.
I think
a lot of people
could be used to.
Maybe. But if you take off a country's resources, aka money, they're going to find another way to make money. What is Russia known for, except for, gas and everything else that
they export ransomware.
Yep. A lot of evil people are in, Russia. And I mean, ransomware is a distributive attack. It is a distributive network. Not everything is in one specific spot. Evil, black matter, all of them are spread out all over the place, right? So you affect the people of that world. They're going to find another way to make income. They're going to start attacking.
So let's get to the crux of the matter then. Your IR, right? What do you think? And I love doing this shit on you, pulling it on you. What are your top 3 things that companies should shore up immediately?
The top one is
IT
make sure you do your logs.
Okay.
If you've got any gap in your logging, you need to shore that up like fucking yesterday.
How do they identify the gaps?
You start going through. It's like, okay, my firewall. What is logging that? Not physically going into it, but is that syslog being pumped out to a third party that you can aggregate it? Is your Windows devices, your Mac devices pumping that out? Is your switches pumping that out? Do you have cloud infrastructure? Are you monitoring that stuff? Making sure all of your logging. 9 times out of 10, doing your logging will be your first keys of indication that something's going fucking awry.
Okay, and for a company that doesn't have logging, that should, even though I believe I speak for both of us when I say every company should be logging.
Absolutely.
How do they go about vetting and getting a good solution in place post haste without having to, do the whole mundane runaround of vetting 10 vendors, whittling it down one at a time, and the minutia that comes along with that?
I mean, I could be self-centered and just say, call us at barricadecyber.com, right?
Do it.
But you got to, I would strongly recommend getting with an IR firm that does incident response retainers. So, you could bring an IR firm like us, like Kroll, like Coveware, and some of the other big players in, and they can start getting injected into your network right away. So if something was to happen, they are already there. You don't have to wait to get SOPs and SOWs put together and NDAs.
Legal agreements.
Yep. You don't have to wait that time. You can start working on getting your business back up and running if something happens.
Once they sign off on your contract, how long for you to get into their systems?
Normally within 2 hours.
Okay.
We're really, really proactive.
So almost as fast as ransomware. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. What's item number 2? We got logging.
You got logging. Number 2 is any sort of tool that you're using for remote access. Your TeamViewer, your Splash Top. God forbid, please don't let it be RDP.
Why not? Ransomware deployment protocol is, it's pervasive.
It is. It's very inviting. Make sure that you've got logging turned on, that you've got the MFA, the 2FA, whatever it is, and you're actively watching those for failed logins.
Okay. Are there any remote access programs you would, I'm not going to put you in a hot seat, say that you would recommend to stay away from, but that you, Eric, Barricade Cyber, and your team would always try to stay away from, other than RDP?
The free versions of things. Any desk, remote PC, go to my PC. Any of these free tools.
Why is that?
Because anybody can sign up for it. You don't know what you're inviting.
Okay.
Right? There was an exploit not too long ago, and I don't know if it's still there or not on TeamViewer, where you could just hit a web page and just keep enumerating the API for keys, and it'll start popping, okay, what's the password? And then you can start doing enumeration on that.
Okay.
So, of course, you don't know what's on the other end. It could just be a kid playing freaking Minecraft. Who knows? But,
Okay. So, number 1 is logs. Number 2 is secure your remote access protocols or software that you use. Don't use the free stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What's item number 3?
Inventory, asset management, and disaster recovery.
How do you do that? Because that's a, you're talking about two major things I would say there, which is the asset management piece, which we covered in a previous video 2 weeks ago, maybe 3,
Mhm.
and then disaster recovery planning. And before you get to the answer, I want to have people understand that disaster recovery planning should cover your entire business operation, not just IT.
Yep. So we've made the analogy here before that the client gave it to me a couple years ago. That's really home truths. Like if your house is on fire, what is the things that you want out right away? Your wife, your kids, things of that nature. You want to make sure that you are assessing the data in a true fashion. So if your business got hit and completely taken down, what's the top 3 things that you need to get back up and running first? Right? Your domain controller, maybe your line of business applications, maybe your accounting package. How long is it going to take to get that stuff up and going? And then what depends on those things? Your workstation tying into your domain controller, your, I don't know, whatever may be integrated in with your accounting packages, things of that nature. So you got to build that tree out of, if your system got nuked, what are the things that you got to do? What depends on what? It's build out that true disaster recovery plan. And, can it be, spun back up from backups? Do you need to migrate it to the cloud temporarily and then bring it back up? It's a whole thing, but you got to start doing it. You got to start doing it now. Not all data is good. Doing a little German there. Sorry, for those who listen to the audio version. A little inside joke. But anyway, you got to shore up your asset inventory. If you didn't learn from the Log4j situation, now is a good time to start doing a trial run and start getting that information, right? So that's just me. Because that's always the things that everybody's like, well, we need to get back up and running. What's your most important things? They don't know.
So with these 3 or 4 things, and let's say we're looking at a company anywhere between 100 user or 50 user and 1,000 users, because to me, it's the same scale, right? If you're using centralized systems, it doesn't matter if it's 1 or 100,000.
Yeah.
How long do you think it should take to vet these solutions and put them into place?
That's a good question. I would probably say under a week.
Vet them all and implement?
I mean, it would probably take you a week to assess what the good solutions are. And then another week to vet and find damage. Y'all look at the audio and go to the video.
If they got ransomware, there's a good likelihood that their email is compromised. So it makes sense for you them to call 1-800-324-9941. And I hope that, dear God, that is your actual phone number.
It is.
Okay.
But just a disclaimer, if you call that, it still shows IT Simplified. I got to get that IVR recorded. So anyway, if you hear IT Simplified, you got the same company. We're going through a name change. But anyway, those who are listening on audio, y'all really got to go to the video because Shiva's having fun with the banners.
There's new functions. There's new features. A shiny toy syndrome.
But yeah, I mean, I know it doesn't help the immediate here and now, but you've got to get started somewhere, right?
Yeah, I've never been a fan of these protracted engagements where let's figure out the solution. Well, if you're coming to me, I probably have a good solution in mind. Mm-hmm. It's probably been vetted. I can give you the 30,000 foot overview. I can go into detail, but I don't think it should take any business more than a week to vet any solution. Testing is a different story.
Yeah.
But I think there's a big difference when you're looking at deploying a CrowdStrike and you're looking at deploying a web root. You can POC web root for 5 years and still be tits up fucked.
I do think, in my humblest opinion, I do think, testing is part of the vetting platform. So let's just say you have a backup platform that you're using.
And for
finding
those of
out.
you listening, Eric loves Dado.
Sorry, children. Fuck that shit. No.
Oh, sorry, that was Brian. Brian loves Dado. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah, he's even got the Dado pillow he bites in when they go in dry. But anyway.
Emotional damage.
Sorry, children.
I see what you did there.
I see what you did. Now you got me all sidetracked. But yeah, so let's just take disaster recovery or backups. If you have a local repository, great. How long does it take to recover that? A lot of times you have Hyper-V and VMware. Most of those ones will spin up a recovery version of that VM so that we can test. But here's where the real shit hits the road. When you're using a cloud infrastructure, you're backing it up offsite. You're using a Backblaze, you're using an S3 bucket, you're using whatever. How long does it take for that data to come back down? And that right there is part of the last
is
one.
The S3 bucket secured?
Well, that's a different story altogether, right?
Chances are it's not, or not well secured.
Yep.
Because then you have guys like Eric out there who just come across random open buckets and they're like, what do I do with this?
Mm-hmm. So that's, prioritizing your data, because you could be like, okay, I need to restore all of my backups. Well, which one's the most important ones? And that's where that prioritization comes in. What is the most crucial information that you need to get back down loaded within the next 24 hours to get you back up and running? Your workstation data, maybe you can wait, toward the end of the stuff. It really depends on the role, the feature of that person in the environment. But this conversations you got to have, and not all data can be treated the same.
I mean, I fundamentally disagree with Eric on that one. I think all data is important because if they can get to some, chances are they can get to all. In the vast majority of the SMB and mid-level enterprise.
To be fair, to put an asterisk on, I'm talking about disaster recovery.
Oh, okay. So I have a question for you, and it's going to put you in the hot seat. So
you've already done it enough times. Let's go.
Fuck yeah. Fuck, did I forget what I was going to say? No, I did not. Okay. Russians are coming, our clickbait headline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they're physically coming, but I think they have been coming via cyber. And when COVID started, the great pandemic of the 21st century, or at least the first one, we were told to secure the identity. Forget the device, forget the firewall. Secure the identity. Now, Mr. Taylor, because you are IR, and you have probably seen this more times than I care to recount, correct me if I'm wrong here. If I were to get on a device and grab some Kerberos tokens, I can pop that identity like no other.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your thought, what your methodology or your plan on how they should secure the endpoint for the work from home? My 2 cents is secure the identity and the physical network or the network layer.
Yeah, so that really is another case-by-case scenario, right? So I do not subscribe at all to just protect the identity, because just like you said, there are too many classes that have been going on for years that even I've gone through. If you don't believe me, go talk to Black Hill Security. I got trained by them on some of this stuff. Go watch any DEF CON watch in the past couple of years. That most of them demonstrate this, where you can steal the Kerberos tickets from an MFA through a phishing page, doing a man in the middle, and be able to steal that identity and log in as that person for the next 60 days. Because Microsoft and Azure and all these do not rotate those tokens fast enough if you keep it at default. So doing that, and I think it was last week or the week before, it's something I want to do a proof of concept on that I've been meaning to do, but things been busy. But you could drop a DLL file on a workstation, and you could drop a DLL on a system inside a system 32, reboot, and all the plain text stuff is being logged. So if you get local admin, even though it's part of a domain, it will start dumping those domain creds right into a plain text file on that workstation.
Did you see that Microsoft last week put out a release that very soon Defender will be able to prevent theft of local credentials on a device. I call bullshit, but it was announced.
I'm interested, right? So I want to see what they're going to do. It's going to be interesting. I mean, Defender, Microsoft is really trying to do a lot of cool stuff with Defender, but Defender has had its track records of problems, right?
Well, I think, and I hate to say this publicly, but fuck it, whatever. Microsoft is doing to Defender what they did to Internet Explorer in the early days of the browser wars. They are tying that shit so deep into the OS that you can't pull it out. And we're going to get to a point where it's going to be really hard to convince our clients to not go with Defender. It's already being included in various SKUs for Microsoft 365.
Mm-hmm.
And Intune gives it a whole different life. I know MSPs may not like it because they don't have that, multi-tenancy management unicorn dashboard bullshit. But their attack surface reduction policies are enticing.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a very cool feature of ransomware prevention that ties into OneDrive. The problem is, if you're not part of Intune and you're not part of a domain that's monitoring and doing the GPO of OneDrive, it's very easy to turn those precautions off. Right?
Yeah, it's all registry keys. Let's be honest here, right?
It is. And that's all Huntress is doing. Fuck it, here we go. Let's throw Huntress under the bus. But they go and say, oh, well, we do AV and stuff like that. And, Huntress does a lot of cool stuff, don't get me wrong, but their their Windows Defender monitoring is just fucking registry key monitoring, which you can do with any RMM. It's the same shit that Rocket Cyber was doing too. So they're not doing anything fucking new and inventive there.
They bought an EDR company a year or two ago that's coming to market. I think they have it in beta in some way, shape, or form with some of their customer base. And according to something was it LinkedIn? Probably.
I think it was Twitter. But yeah, I did see something come out from Kyle. Not sure.
And they said that they stopped nation state actors because their EDR was able to find it. So, if it's true, mazel tov. I mean,
so I'll have to dig it up. There was, I think it was on LinkedIn. It may have been Twitter, but when Kyle posted some images and stuff like that, I was looking at some of the files that are there and I'm like, hold on, that's the same shit that's in the SANS class that we did. That's been around for years.
Concepting it.
Yeah, that's all they were doing was proof of concept.
Which is speaking of proof of concept. We love Crowdstrike here. We think they're the bee's knees or whatever that saying is, right?
Cat's meow.
I like it. So did you see that Carbon Black announced an 8-hour maintenance window?
Yes. And it ended up being 11 hours that they were totally down.
That makes their agent, wait for it, impotent.
Yep, it was completely read-only.
So I have a question, and maybe you can answer this for me because I'm just a ditch digger here. If you have multiple zones for your product, CrowdStrike has a couple here in the US, probably a couple for Asia, a couple for whatever, without going to details and blowing their shit up. Why can't you fail over agents to another zone for that cloud connected workload while its primary zone is being worked on or upgraded?
Got an answer for you.
Okay.
Carbon Black was originally a on-premise solution that got ported to cloud.
Okay.
And it's not fully cloud ready.
So it wasn't built from the ground up for the cloud is what you're saying.
Exactly.
But I've got to imagine it's as easy as putting a failover URL for the connection.
I don't think they're interconnected.
Okay, I can see. So no SIDs to identify, authenticate. Okay, I get where you're going with this. But
that's pure speculation, but that's what I've been hearing.
But why not just have some kind of baseline failover functionality to keep telemetry going for updates and upload of sandboxing? I mean, they got to be smart enough to be able to pull it from there and port it back into something. But
you would think so. But if these are truly independent boxes that are running in whatever zone that they are, let's just say both of our companies are running under Carbon Black under East 1 geolocation. If that was to go down and all of our stuff is being redirected to East 2, our agents may get uninstalled or have a problem because they're not registered for that specific server.
To me, that's a failure on the part of the software.
It is. And there's a lot of people that are raising their arms up about, the fact that you could not, so supposedly all of the threat intel was there. So if you got, if there was something that was already known,
all of the threat intel at the beginning of that 8, which turned into an 11-hour window, was there. Not what came out a couple hours later.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I get that you have to announce your downtime, your maintenance windows. It's part of your contract. It's part of your SLA and all the other legalese bullshit.
Yep.
But isn't that forecasting downtime for the bad actors?
Mm-hmm.
Especially letting them know, hey, if you have 0 days, now's the time to use them.
Yep. If you've been scoping out a prospect that has carbon black in their infrastructure and they have been down, or they have a scheduled down 8 hours. I mean, if they did not know that this infrastructure is built this way, then they know it now.
But
right?
Do we really believe that any nation state has not mapped out all of these vendors? There was an article that came out maybe last year. I want to be careful what I say here because I don't want to be too wrong. A Chinese APT or Chinese CCP funded entity bought licenses for Kaspersky, Bitdefender, and a few of the other big names out there to understand the architecture, map it, and use it.
Oh yeah, I mean, if you don't think that the ATP and other ransomware groups are not trying to find weaknesses so when they can get in there and do their work, you're nuts. All right. You can do both.
I just figured it out.
But anyway, yeah, they're doing their homework, right? You as the smart business person, you're going to be doing the homework with whatever product or solution that you're going to do. If you're smart.
No, I just call you and say, hey, should I buy this shit?
I'll probably just say no.
No, actually what he says is hold my beer. And then he goes and does some OSINT on him. And then he's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't use that. And if you want proof of that, ask Brian Weiss.
Almost choked on my coffee.
Love you, bye.
Bite your pillow. He's going to hate me after this one.
That's okay.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, so to talk about that, when you're doing your vendor selection, there's so many tools out there. I'll just throw it out there: DNS Dumpster and CRT.sh. You can start poking around and taking a look. I mean, granted, my stuff that I start doing is a lot deeper in that, but we'll answer that in a second. But
I'll leave it up just so we don't forget.
You've honestly got to start doing your homework on them. If they honestly have, and I know we talked about this before, but if they have subdomains that can be taken over, if they have S3 buckets that are open, they have all these things, they're not doing their own internal sanitation and, doing, these tools that are free to everybody that you can start doing, you just got to know how to do it. If they're not doing that on their own infrastructure, some of the really easy stuff, I'm not going to really feel very comfortable trusting them with the more complicated stuff. It's like the rope of trust. There's an old fable that, when your kids are growing up, you get like a 5-foot rope and you tie a bunch of knots on it. As they earn trust, you go out on the rope to the next knot. They're getting further and further away from you. So if they are not doing their pure sanitations of their own infrastructure and going through, you're pulling that rope even closer. You can't trust them, right? I mean, just take it back. I want to go sidetrack here a bit. But you and I were growing up. Our parents could trust us to run around the fucking neighborhood until the lights came home.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Your alarm to go home was when the street lights came on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can't. Street lights are on. You got a couple minutes to get your ass there before you get a whooping.
So socially, we are closer on that rope of knots. You need to do the same thing with your vendors. You've got to do your homework. You can't just be like, "Ooh, this is a pretty GUI. I think I'll buy it."
And don't buy into marketing FUD, because I think that's the biggest disservice that's being done by cybersecurity vendors, especially some who probably should not be in the space. Which kind of takes us to what Metasploit's asking here. I'll read it out. How Web3 will impact job opportunities for white hat hackers if decentralized Web3 will be enough to drastically decrease jobs for web application penetration testers. You mind if I take a stab at this and then let the expert take over?
No, you go ahead, because I'm just going to full disclosure. I don't know a whole lot about Web3.
I think as long as there's a human alive that wants to tinker, you're always going to need pen testers and security personnel and protocols. I don't think anything is 100% secure. Look at Ethereum. Didn't they just plug a hole where, was it Ether? One of the crypto coins just plugged a hole where people would have been able to create their own coins without mining.
Yeah, I did see something about that. I don't remember which which coin it was, but yeah, I do have right along the same lines of it, to do a religious aspect of things. If man made it, man can break it. The only thing the only thing that could be perfect is made by the creator. So there you go.
So what else are we thinking Russia's going to hit? I don't think they're going to hit critical infrastructure because they don't want that type of saber rattling on either side.
I do think, we've had over the course of, 10 years or whatever, we're having, cyber skirmishes. We're having the data breaches and the ransomware attacks and stuff like that. I really wish and hope and pray that cooler heads will prevail here. I really do not want to see our first ever cyber war, because cyber war is only going to go so far until military action comes in to retaliate. And it's just going to be a whole different.
Here's my thought on cyber war. If done right, I hate to say this, that there's even a right way to do cyber war. A shot never needs to be fired. You can destroy and cripple a country.
But see,
cyber warfare.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Let's just say we declared war on Zimbabwe. I don't know, just pick some fucking.
They don't have internet, so we're safe.
But we cripple their infrastructure.
Children.
They probably have, or we nuke out their infrastructure. Let's just say we take out their internet, or we take out some way of, their
take out the Belt and Road Initiative, and they won't have anything.
Fucking China. You take out a way for them to communicate. Sooner or later, it's going to be a domino effect into that economy, and they are going to retaliate. Would it be
okay? Let's game this out a little. How does a country like Zimbabwe, and I'm sorry to use this as an example, but I guess it's the first country that came to our minds.
Yeah.
I don't know the technical proficiency and the supply resources behind their military.
Exactly. Neither do I.
Could they go up against a USA, major European country, or China?
This is things that you got to figure out, and that's that scenario. Sooner or later, you cause another. This is what I'm saying. If sooner or later you're going to cause such grief, it's going to require a physical interaction. If you're going to start fighting, right? I mean,
unless you're crippled from a technology standpoint and your military is so used to, satellite overwatch, and you lose that, what happens to your military if they can't do basic land nav?
Yep. I mean, to take it even more simplistic, let's say we lived right across the street. We don't, but let's just say we did. If I start bombarding you,
2 cans and a piece of string.
Yeah. So that'd be a really long string to go from New Jersey to South Carolina. But
I'm just saying, if we lived across the street, just done.
But I start bombarding you with rocks, and then I start bombarding you with noise. Then I start bombarding you with signal jammers. At some point in time, you're going to get out of your house, come over here and try to whoop my ass.
Pretty much.
That's all I'm saying. People are going to only take so much before physical retaliation comes in. And I think if cyber warfare actually happens, that you take that mindset to a much bigger scale, and that's what you're going to have.
Well, I think the lucky thing, if there is a silver lining in this, is that the U.S. is here and Russia's over there. So it's harder to mobilize. I'm not saying impossible. But where I see the issue, and that supports your supposition there, is I think yesterday the UK announced that if Russia decides to continue cyber operations against them, their military wing of cyber operations will retaliate against Russia.
Exactly. My point exactly.
Yeah.
At some point in time, they're going to get like, fuck you. You know? So he had another comment. What? Sorry, this is live. So, dear sir, you're talking about cyber warfare. Tell me how with this quantum attacks, how horrible could they be? May they be? That's pure speculation, right? I mean, I don't know how best to answer that 1 minute split, to be completely honest.
I don't think you even need quantum attacks to destroy anything anymore. I don't think Stuxnet was quantum. I think it was just a botnet that infiltrated and did what it had to do. But if you are going to join us tomorrow morning, we have a cybersecurity roundtable. And one of the speakers is a former, how do I put this?
Just three-letter agency.
He was former three-letter agency in cyber warfare. Maybe you can pose that question to him tomorrow. See what he says about it. And he operates a highly proficient and actionable managed detection and response company. So I would probably defer that to him tomorrow.
And to be fair, most of the people that are on our panel tomorrow come from former three-letter agencies.
Or IC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, like I said, folks, be prepared. Gird
your loins.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to tell you right now, the InfoSec community is gearing up. I know it. I'm gearing up. My team's gearing up. We're probably by this time next week, I'll be
hot seat question for you.
Here we go again.
What is gearing up for you?
Being more proactive on all the alerts.
Okay.
Yeah, where we would, we have a certain escalation scale, right? So if it's a lower priority or whatever, we'll be like, okay, we'll look at that in about an hour or two. We don't ever let things go too long, but now we are internally starting to look at stuff in a more proactive way, because we don't want those little pieces to become a big piece that's like, oh fuck.
So I have a question for you based on that. I'm assuming you're referencing some type of response SLA.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's call emergency, and these are not his actual SLAs, so don't give him shit for it. This is just me pulling it out of my ass. 1 hour for critical, 4 hours for high, 8 hours for medium, and whatever.
Yep.
In a time of perceived warfare or heightened alert, so to speak.
Yep, my alerts go away.
Are those SLAs further reduced? Like it goes from maybe an hour to 30 minutes?
Yeah, they're all greatly reduced.
Because I know you've been spinning up and hiring more talent. So I'm assuming part of that is to be able to respond faster.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And that's what, on a side conversation that we were having in our own private stuff is, we are implementing immediate isolation and containment of workstations and servers.
Oh, he had some really cool shit with that yesterday for CrowdStrike.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fuck.
Yep. So, we're not fucking around. We kind of seen the writing on the wall yesterday, and that's why I started doing it. So, and then today we're starting to see more and more. I'm like, yeah, not to toot my own horn, but I guess I was kind of right. I just think it's going to get worse.
I've been impatiently waiting for sanctions to be announced by Germany and the US.
And the UK.
Oh, the UK announced it.
Did they finally? I know you was waiting for that.
Oh, that's what I was waiting for. Come on. Oh, so sorry guys, I'm reading this live, so okay, nothing actionable, to quote Brian Weiss, is being done. Eric, you did a YouTube video this morning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he rightfully called out that Germany is halting the certification process for Nordstrom II. And Eric brought this to my attention earlier. He's like, no one's talking about Nordstrom 1. It's still pumping away. Gas is still going from Russia to Germany. How's that going to affect anything? Shell, major U.S. oil petrochem company, operates in Russia. So are sanctions going to be delayed to allow U.S. interests or friendly interests to pull out? Or are sanctions going to be dropped, and then it's a sink or swim thing? And what are going to be the backlashes against us?
I don't know. Of course, this is a very loose and fluid thing. We just got to see what the writing on the wall starts showing. If Russia's actually starting to send, these peacekeepers into, Kiev or Kyiv, whatever the hell the town is, and Ukraine doesn't kick them out, that's almost like inviting Russia in.
But Russia's going into Donbass and
Kyiv, or how you pronounce the town, I forget. The ones that
they're going into the eastern Ukrainian blocks or portions as peacekeeping.
Yeah.
As a peacekeeping mission. So that gives the rest of the world fewer reasons to go up and send military aid into the Ukraine and Kiev, or however they're pronouncing it these days. So,
when I read or seen that story came in, the old fable of I forget which fable it is now. I had it a moment ago, but where you wheeled up the horse with all the soldiers hidden
Troy.
in it. Yes, Troy.
Yeah.
This looks just like it. I'm like, you're wheeling in a bunch of soldiers to be in your country. I don't think this is going to end well.
Well, I think, and the underlying reason for us getting on a live episode today is, I think this is going to ratchet up cyber activity tremendously. Yeah. And the point of all of our ramblings and everything we do with this podcast is to help you guys understand what may be going on and how to best protect yourselves. And exactly. I'm a firm believer that protecting yourselves starts with proper asset management and identification. Because if you don't know what you have, you're going to have holes in your flank.
Mm-hmm.
So,
watch your six. Watch your ass, everybody.
With that, I'm done. Unless you got anything else, Eric.
No, man. I'm rambling till the cows come home. But it's kind of what it is. Just be careful, everybody. If y'all have questions, please if you don't call me, please call somebody you trust. If you have questions about the people you trust, call me. I will literally get on the phone. I would much rather have a call with you for 30 minutes and give you some peace of mind. Like, nope, those guys are good. We trust them. You can potentially trust them, right? I'd much rather do that than you have any questions. So please, just call. Just book a calendar. Let's have a conversation. With that, that's all I got.
See ya.
Ladies and gentlemen and ghouls that are out there on the internet, if you have made it this far, thank you so much for tuning in for yet another episode of AmplifiedandIntensified.com. And you know what? A recent change to the platform, Shiva has put together a new website, AmplifiedandIntensified.com. If you have heard anything that you have liked about this podcast and you want to engage Shiva or myself, or be able to help sponsor by donating us some coffee, all the links of our calendars, buying us coffee, past episodes of both the podcast and the YouTube version are all now on AmplifiedandIntensified.com. Go there for all of your needs. Thank you so much. And until next time, take care.